Hello and welcome. Radio check. 5x5. Nice. So, clearly, by that thing you saw on the right side of the screen, I tried to put notifications up. That didn't work the way I thought it was going to work, so I guess we're going to have to work on that some other time, and hopefully it'll be up and running properly by the next stream. So, I think that'll be good. Today, we are in the CRJ-900, and we are flying from Winnipeg to Minneapolis to Omaha. Now this is real SkyWest Ops, and although this flight is done in the ERJ, and just excuse me 1 second. Alright, please excuse that. The wonderful girlfriend gave me a call, but anyway, yeah. This is a real SkyWest operations going on, except this particular flight is flown by the ERJ, but I don't have the Embraer series, so we're just going to rock the CRJ. Kind of ballsy, because we're starting in Canadian airspace, which is something that I'm not used to. I think I've only done it once on stream to Toronto, but it's really not all that gutsy, because, well, no one's even online anyway, so. But we are using Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Now, last time I tried this, I was getting all sorts of warnings and indications and stuff like that, but I believe since the last time I streamed this game, it has been updated, and I did also discover that Microsoft 2020, when I used that, didn't close all the way. It's been having that issue for a while now and seems to still have that issue. So fingers crossed that everything goes well from here on out and it's all smooth sailing. So yeah, Microsoft 2024 in Canadian airspace, a little bit new for me. Let's get a rolling, shall we? So now we're inside of the cockpit. Oh, a little bit of stuttering here. Let's give it a second to think. Okay. Now it's doing okay, cool. So we'll drop this yoke down so I can actually see. There we go. Alright, so we're going to come up top here. Well, first thing we're going to do is verify that the landing gear is down. The thrust levers are in the cutoff position. And speed brakes are up, flaps are up, and nothing weird is going to happen when we turn on the power. And funny enough, there's a little bit of a coughing noise coming from in here that's part of the update, which is kind of cool. At the same time, very unnecessary, but whatever. So let's go ahead and get some power on in the aircraft. You hear that there, that looks good. And then we're going to see the screens come on. We will open the APU SOV. We have that open, and let's go ahead and start the APU. And we'll monitor the starting of the APU. EGT is looking good in the green. The RPM is spinning up as well. And the screens should all come on. There we go. We have power to the aircraft. One thing I did notice is here at Winnipeg, I did have to move the aircraft via slew mode because these parking spots are not very good. And you know what? I didn't want the traffic to display, so that's something we're going to take care of right now so I don't get confused between people on VATSIM and just generic models. So air traffic, how do I turn that off? Interesting. Air traffic type, choose. Oh, okay. So this is off. But how do I get rid of all the planes that are sitting still? Oh, this should be it right here, I believe. Ah, there we go. Okay. So that should shut all of this off, right? No. That was not the proper setting. Okay, so air traffic. Ah, there we go. So, traffic airport quality, there we go. Hey, now they're off. Okay, cool. So now I should only see the aircraft that are in VATSIM. Sorry about that. Cool. But yeah, anyway, I loaded into this parking spot and it was a little bit too far to the right here. By the way, gate 4 is the only one with a parking spot on the line, but it's too far for the jetway to be activated, so that's really unfortunate. So I had to slew mode over to the left. Tried my best to get on the line, but slew mode is very sensitive and it was extremely hard to do. So we did our best. We got the jetway to attach, and that's really all that matters to me. Cool. Now that we have power and the APU is on, we're going to go ahead and run our flows. Actually, first thing I want to do is turn all of these panel lights on, because we are expecting it to get dark as we go on. And I do also want to get the IRS switches to nav mode right now, because I do have realistic alignment. So let's get the lights over here on the right side going, and on the left side as well. Alright, right. We'll get the display on for our checklist, and actually, you know what? I remember there are camera views. Alright, so battery master is on, that's good. All of the generators are in the auto position, just where we want it. The fire detection still doesn't work as of the latest update, as far as I'm concerned. Again, I don't know if I'm doing it wrong, but I'm pretty sure you're supposed to do it on your originating flows, so I think it's just broken. So we'll skip that for now. The hydraulic SOVs are both closed and guarded. Excellent. We'll turn on our nav lights and our logo lights to let the ground crew know that we're powered on. Fuel pumps can stay off for now. Bleed air is normal. Bleed valves are auto. ISOL valve is closed, but that's automatic, so we're good there. And bleed sources both engines. Excellent. APU is on. Engine start switches are all extinguished for now. Excellent. The hydraulics will leave off for now. Cabin pressure. We're looking for our landing altitude at MSP, which I believe is 840? 842. So let's go ahead and do that weird thing with the view I have to do to turn this knob and see it at the same time. And I gotta lean in to do that. Actually, before I forget, let's get that camera on. There we go. Hello, folks. Excellent. Alright, so we're going to zoom in and verify that that's 840, which it is. Cool. So let's go back up top here. We're going to turn our packs on. The recirc fan's coming on. The aft cargo switches here are extinguished. That's good. Everything's automatic. Excellent. Anti-ice we don't need right now. Windshield heat can go to low. Probe heats can stay off for now until after engine start. Dome light will turn on just in case. It's not nighttime yet, but in case it gets dark for whatever reason. It is kind of smoky out here in Winnipeg. They are reporting 6 miles of visibility with smoke, assuming from the wildfires, and the sim is actually doing a pretty decent job at kind of replicating that. You can kind of see in the distance there, visibility is degraded a little bit, so that's kind of cool. Anyway, going from left to right here, all of our nose and taxi lights can stay off. The ELT is armed. Passenger oxygen light is extinguished and it's guarded. We'll get the no smoking signs on and the seatbelt signs on as well. And emergency lights can be armed. Right. So let's go to the center console here. And we'll go up a little bit so I don't accidentally hit that again. The horn is extinguished and guarded. Anti-skid is armed. That's good. We'll test the bay overheat, and we'll do it in this view so we can see the message pop up here. And we do get the audible warning as well, and then a yellow. There we go. Cool. The engine's N1 is fine. High power schedule is extinguished and guarded. That's good. Lamp test, you can light the whole plane up like a Christmas tree, and all of the lights work. That's good. We're going to leave this where it's at. The ground proximity is extinguished and guarded. That's good. And the mech push is also closed and guarded as well. We'll arm the reversers on the ground. Speed brakes are up. Thrust levers are cut off. Flaps are up. And the roll disconnect is stowed and locked. Excellent. Excellent. And the metric is off. Cool. Come down here to our radio panel. So the CTAF frequency for Winnipeg is 118.3, and I'm just gonna double check that on vPilot real quick. And yep, 118.3. So let's get that loaded in on my radio panel down here. Oh, and it is moving up there. That's kind of cool. And that's 118.3. Cool. Well, and you know what? The one thing that I don't like about Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 is it doesn't save your settings when you log off. So I need the anti-aliasing off because my screens are constantly fading into each other, and it's the weirdest thing in the world. So now we have quicker screens, and hopefully it saves from here on out, but I honestly doubt it. Right now we'll squawk 2000. I believe that auto ATC is not working. There's a streamer that I watched yesterday, and he did a flight and also didn't get an auto ATC. The only other thing I could possibly think of is maybe that only exists in the US, maybe even Europe, but he flew out of Greenland, didn't get an auto ATC, and now I'm not getting an auto ATC here in Canada. So we'll have to see if it pops up for a departure out of Minneapolis on the next leg. So for now, we're squawking 2000. That looks good. Radar's looking fine. We'll put our ATC on 1 over here, and the standby disappears. We'll get our standby radio turned on. Excellent. Stab trim can come on. And I'm curious if after the update we can turn the yaw damper off on the ground. No, we can't, which is strange because you're supposed to be able to do that, but that's okay. Anyway, display and avionics fan are both in the normal position. We're on nav mode for our IRSs, and we'll set a position very soon. Flight deck door is fine. All of our screen buttons are here. The trim switches are neutral. That's good. We have our lighting on. Good. Yaw damper doesn't work yet. Everything down here is in the normal position. Excellent. And coming over to the right side, the cargo Fire X is extinguished and guarded, forward and aft, and there's no light here, which is good. Landing gear, emergency extend is down and locked, ADG is in and locked, good. Emergency flap are normal, and everything looks good. Alright, so now we'll set the autopilot panel, and we're looking at a cruise altitude today of flight level 370, which to me seems kind of high for as short of a trip it is. It is a little less than an hour, but we'll just roll with it and see how it is, and if we have to stop sooner, we will. So 370, that's good. Heading, that's a good question. So the winds today at Winnipeg are 320 at 07. So we're going to take a peek at the airport diagram on SkyVector because I don't have it in. Or you know what, I could pull it in from SimBrief. Oh, it has to be in the FMS. Okay, we'll just look at the airport diagram here. And I do want night mode on because that is blinding. Okay. So, interestingly enough, oh, you know what, I accidentally got rid of SkyVector. Oops. Oops. Oh, you know what, SkyVector is US only. So I guess what I will do is just pull up the origin here. Y Whiskey Golf. We'll enter that, and then we'll get the runway layout here. So we're going to go ahead and use runway 31, because 31 is long enough for us to use, which is pretty good. So we'll plan for runway 31, so we'll set our heading bug to 310, like so. So we have runway heading, we have our altitude set, and then everything else we'll do in flight. We'll get rid of the lights up here as well. We're going to come over to the left side over here. We're going to set our altimeter, which we're looking at... Why do I keep getting rid of it? Looking at 3022. And this is going to be in inches of mercury. Cool. 3022. And then we'll set our V-speeds in just a second here. Okay. So we're going to run through the checklist real quick. The crew and oxygen mask we'll test real quick. That side works. That side works as well. And the audio warning panel we did check. That's good. Electrical power was checked. We're fine there. Fire detection doesn't work in this aircraft currently, so we'll skip that. External lights are all on. Good. Fuel panel was checked. We're fine there. We basically did our flows through all of this right here. Nose wheel steering is off. That's good. Clocks are fine. Instrument panels, all that's good. Avionics is checked. Trim is checked, so yaw damper should be engaged, but it won't let us until the IRSs are aligned, so source panel. Alright, so next thing is we're going to set up our weight and balance real quick. And we are looking at a full flight today, 90 passengers. And then we have 4,500 pounds of cargo. So let's go ahead and put 1,500. Oops. 1,500 up front. 3,000 in the back. And today's block fuel is 8537. So we'll enter that, and then we'll set payload and sim twice, because for some reason it does something weird with the weight and balance calculations here. Alright, so we do have our V-speeds now, and the runway is dry, so that's good. So we'll start with V1. V1 we're looking at 147. Okay. V2 is also, or I'm sorry, VR is also 147. V2 is 156. And VT is 204. That might take a little bit of scrolling. Okay, 204, cool. So we'll go to the FMC here, and now we'll set ourselves a position. Our reference airport is Charlie, Yankee, Whiskey, Golf, Winnipeg International. Then we'll go to the next page. We'll pull our GNSS 1 and previous page, set that as our position. Cool. Then to our flight plan, we're going from Winnipeg to Minneapolis, St. Paul, Kilo Mike Sierra Papa, and our alternate today is... it's up here somewhere. St. Cloud. So Kilo Sierra Tango Charlie. So we'll throw that in there as well. Our flight number today is SkyWest 3660. 3660, so we'll put that on in the flight number section. Cool. So our departure today, we're just doing radar vectors. So departure, we're just doing vectors here. So I'm curious if the Yankee Whiskey Golf departure is just radar vectors, because if that's the case, that's what we'll be using. Okay, yeah, it's just radar vectors. Top altitude doesn't seem to exist. Oh, there we go. Climb to and maintain 3,000, but ATC is not online, so we're not really going to worry about that. We're just going to go straight to cruise. Alright, and that can go in night mode as well. I don't know why none of these settings have saved for me. That's kind of unfortunate. So we'll do the Winnipeg 3. I did decide we are taking runway 31, so we'll execute that. And then flight plan next. So we're going direct to Ilito. So Echo, Lima, Echo, Tango, Oscar. Then from Ilito we're going to Groli, Golf, Romeo, Oscar, Lima, Echo, like so. And then direct to Kilo, Papa, 2-1 Echo. So a waypoint with numbers, that's interesting. And then we're going direct to Golf, Golf, Uniform, Lima, Lima. And then Gull is actually the transition into our rival, which we're going to do the Baney 3. And right now, again, no one's online. The winds are favoring... trying to do some math here. The winds are favoring the 1-2s, it looks like right now. But they're using the 3-0s at MSP, so for now, we'll count on the 3-0s, and we can expect runway 30 left based off of the direction we're coming from in the Gull transition like so, and we will do vectors to the ILS. So let's go ahead and execute that. Go to our legs page, verify that there are no discontinuities. There is. We'll get rid of that real quick. Execute. And now we're looking good there. Alright, excellent. So now we're going to the performance page, and using the SimBriefs takeoff calculator, we're going to calculate that real quick. Everything looks good. Condition is not wet. No, the conditions are dry. I don't know why it's defaulting to that. So alright, today's select temp is 36 Celsius, so we'll throw that in there. Oops, I accidentally copied the waypoint. So 36, there we go. So perfinite, excellent. So today we have a full flight, 90 passengers. Oops, not there. There we go. And then we have 4,500 pounds of cargo. Our fuel, we're going to use the current fuel, which is 8510. Cruise altitude today is flight level 370, although I'm not sure we're going to make it there before we have to descend. So we'll execute that. The VNAV setup, we don't really have a very specific VNAV setup in this OFP. It doesn't seem so. I'm just going to verify that. Okay, there is a cruise and descent VNAV speed set for us, but there isn't any takeoff speed, so we're going to leave the takeoff and climb where it is. Unable cruise altitude. Yeah, I kind of figured. Okay, we'll go back to that. So cruise altitude, why don't we do flight level... So let's do flight level 310. Unable cruise altitude again. Maybe we have to go lower. Let's try 290. Let's try 25. Okay, I'm not really sure what's going on there. Let's try 270 again. Execute that and see if that message pops up again. Well, you know what? We do have a top of climb wind for us here. I forgot to hit next page before I went to VNAV setup. No, that's not good, because we have our reserve fuel we got to set up as well. Shows you how long it's been since I've flown the CRJ. Pretty much since our last stream, actually. So top of climb winds are, ooh, 270 to 101 knots. All right. So we got some pretty strong winds up there. Looks like we're running into a jet stream. So that'll be interesting. Our reserve fuel for today is 29.89. We'll set that there. Now we'll do VNAV. Like I said again, we'll leave that. And then it wants us to cruise 249/0.77. Okay. So Mach 0.77 basically. It's a really interesting speed there. So we'll do that. And then we're looking at 0.77 and 247 for the descent. Okay, we'll execute that. Good. VNAV looks good. Perfinet looks good. All of that is set up. So let's go to our like pages here. All right. So everything in the FMC is set. We're looking good there. Our IRSs are now aligned because all our screens came up. So first, let's verify that our flight plan looks normal. So we'll go to Format, go to the Plan page, and we'll just kind of scroll through here and make sure that everything looks how it's supposed to, which it does. That looks good to me. So we'll go back to the navigation format, and now we will test the TCAS. We get the blips, we get the red lines on the VSI, and we get the traffic here. Cool. And we'll test the GPWL. Oh, you know what? Got to test the stall warning. Maybe we got to hold it. There we go. Alright, we get the light and the stick shaker. Cool. And we'll test the GPWS.
Pull up. Terrain. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear.
Alright, and that's all it gives us, which is just fine with me. Okay. So going over here, we'll go back to our checklists. Aircraft looks good, so this is now all set for us. And you know what? Since the IRSs have aligned, we now have the yaw damper on, which is good. Before start, passenger signs are coming on, which they should be. Yes, they are. Good. Landing elevation is set. Altimeters are set. FMS is checked and set. IRSs are aligned and in nav mode. Radios and nav aids are set. We have CTAF active right now for Winnipeg. And takeoff briefing. We're taking off runway 31. Alright. So now we're going to go cleared to start. So let's go ahead and turn the beacon on. And let them know that we're ready to go. And then we can pull the jetway. And close the door. Nope.
Captain, the cabin is secure. All passengers are aboard.
The jetway should have released. Oh well. Alright, we'll remove the chocks, and then I'm just expecting the jetway to release when we start our pushback. Okay, so we're looking good there. Oh, last thing is trims. Trim is 6.8. Let's set that before I forget. Doing everything kind of out of order over here. Alright, trim is 6.8. Cool. So we're good there. Love to see it. Alright, so now we can go to the before start checklist if I can figure out which one's EFB. There we go. Devices off, APU is on. Good. Electrics are checked. Let's let's verify that as we, you know. So right here we have the APU gen. That's good. Check the battery. Sweet. Go to the hydraulics page. Verify that everything's green there. Alright, everything looks good. Only reason we don't have PSI is because the hydraulics aren't on yet. But we'll check that momentarily. Takeoff data. We'll check the doors. Doors are all closed. Go back to the hydraulics page. Oop. Doors are closed and lock beacon is on. Fuel pumps can come on. Up here, good. Fuel pumps are on. Hydraulic pumps can all come on. So the main one, and then all three of these on auto. And then we'll verify that we have pressure, which we do. That looks good. And parking brake can go off. Cool. So now we are ready for pushback. Alright, we'll disengage the parking brake. And then I do not have a pushback tool for 2024, so we're just going to go have to go with the classic Shift P, which is less than ideal, but that's just what we're going to have to do. Alright. Now we are good for engine start, and yep, the jetway did pull back as we started pushing back. Alright. So now let's hold the right engine starter for 3 seconds till the light comes on. There we go. You can hear the pack shut off and the start valve opening. N2 is rising. And that's 20% N2. We will introduce fuel. Just going to keep an eye behind us so we don't accidentally push into the grass. I'm honestly okay just leaving it here. Okay. Pushback's complete, so we'll set the parking brake while we finish our engine start. Engine number 2 is stabilized. Alright. Left starter for 3 seconds. Light comes on. We hear the pack shut off. N2 is rising and it's 20%, so let's go ahead and introduce fuel. Kevin Leinert, what is going on? Spamming the emojis, careful, Nightbot might get you for that. Alright, engine number 1 is coming up nicely. Excellent. 2 stable engine starts, good, like to see it. What's plopping? Nightbot, it's it helps me kind of moderate my channel a little bit, and there's some commands that you can do. So if you type exclamation point about, it'll tell you a little bit about me, or exclamation point Discord, it'll send you to my Discord server. You should try it out. Alright, generators, we're going to verify are all in the auto position, which they are. Good. Electrics, checked. We'll come down here to the electrics page and just verify that everything's good. Everything's in the green. We do have positive charge. Bleed valves are on auto. Packs are on. APU can come off. So we'll hit that one, and then we'll close the door. And then verify that the door shuts on the stat page, which I got rid of. And that did disappear. That's good. And then anti-ice, we'll go ahead and turn our probes on, but we don't need any other anti-ice because it is well above freezing over here. And nose wheel steering is armed. Alright, we'll get ready for taxi. Flaps are going to 8. And the slats extend and flaps are 8. Cool. Trims are in the green and checked. We will check the flight controls as well. So we're looking for right aileron up and spoilers, left aileron down, left aileron and spoilers up, right aileron down, elevator full forward, elevator full aft, full right on the rudder and full left, and flight controls are free and correct. Alright. Thrust reversers are armed, flight instruments will check, and brake temp. We'll go back to our stat page, and we're in the green and all indicating zeros. Cool. Nice. So now, before takeoff, so let's go ahead and pull our chart for... Camera's acting kind of funny right now. Oh, it's because I'm still on the EFB mode, oops. Go to our charts here. We're going to airport, airport info, and we're taxiing to runway 31, and it's about the American way, not a boot. Alright, so we are currently here, so we're just gonna taxi over to, we'll take Victor to Hotel to Charlie to get to runway 31 and verify that we're connected on VPilot, which we are. Alright. Winnipeg traffic, Skywest 3660 is at gate 4. We'll be taking Victor, Hotel, Charlie to runway 31, Winnipeg. Alright. So that's going to be a right turn out of here. And we're clear, so the parking brake's coming off. We're ready to taxi, so the nose light's coming off. And we'll get back to our normal view. And would you look at that? Alright. Try the exclamation point about. Alright, so we'll taxi at about a comfortable 15 knots ground speed. And we're taking Victor to Hotel. So we're going to be wrapping around to the left here. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, we'll box the stat page. So if anything new comes up, it'll catch our attention a little bit better. So we're doing about 10 knots ground speed right now, which is fine because we're still actually in the gate area, so... Scenery seems to be a little bit off, not up to date compared to what I'm seeing on the charts here. Seems like there's an extension out here to the apron, so definitely noted. We'll pick up the speed just a little bit right here. So we're not crawling and we can get ourselves up in the air. And then we'll be making this slight right turn and then turning left to get onto Hotel. And we'll take a quick check on VATSIM radar to see if anyone else is at the airport, which they are not, so we're free of traffic, and we're just turning onto a hotel now. So if anyone winds up flying in Winnipeg with default 2024 scenery, it does seem to be a little bit out of date. Right now that we're on an actual taxiway, we'll do a little more than crawl. Get ourselves up to about 15 knots here. Nice and slowly. There we go. and then hotel to Charlie, and we will be at runway 31. Hey Kevin, you still there? And Charlie should be coming up very shortly. And that looks like the end of 3-1 right there. Try typing exclamation point about the right way. Alright, so we are clearing ourselves for takeoff, so we'll get all our landing lights on, our strobes on. We'll turn on the wing inspection as well during our climb. And fuel cross flow is going to manual if I could get to the right spot here. Oop, I am about to overrun. There we go. Alright, flight attendants are advised. Flight attendants, please be prepared for departure. If that's it. Transponder and TCAS are on and set. We're good there. Just verify that we are TARA. Right now, oh, it's on auto. That's fine. Because below 1,000 feet, it won't give us an RA, which is good. And then radar and terrain display and CAS are all checked. We're good there. We'll box the CAS page again because we turned on automatic flow and we're good. Winnipeg traffic, SkyWest 3660 is taking runway 31, departing to the southeast Winnipeg. Alright, so we'll go ahead and throw the autopilot to takeoff mode. And we'll line up with the runway here. Oops, used a little too much brakes. Homie. Don't get in trouble with Nightbot here. Alright, engines are going to 60%. Yep, you're gonna get in trouble with Nightbot, dude. Don't get banned. Alright, engines are stable. We're going to toga thrust. Airspeed's alive. 80 knots cross check. Alright, V1, rotate. Nice and easy off the runway. Alright, there we are. Go about 15 degrees nose up. We have a positive rate of climb, so gears coming up. And then we'll make a right turn to the south. Go direct to Aledo, and we will execute that. We will arm nav mode. And I might have to redirect to Aledo. I feel like it's going to try and turn me around. Oop, you know what? Flaps are retracting. And thrust is going to climb mode. And we will redirect to Aledo real quick, and we'll execute that. And it's still putting in some weird waypoints here, so we'll fly it by hand until it makes sense. let's try it now. There it is. Nope. Still kind of doing some weird stuff. We'll execute that. There we go. And we'll follow the flight directors. And we'll go to speed mode. And now we'll climb at 250 knots. Nice and easy. And we're direct to Alito, which is good. Alright, now we can do our climb check. Fuel cross flow is going back to auto. Bleeds and APU are all set. APU we don't need. The bleeds are all exactly where we want it. Thrust reversers can come off. And the CAS is checked. And nothing popped up. Cool. We're looking good. You know what I did forget to do was put this FMC onto VNAV mode. Cool. And I am curious, I did pick 290 for climb speed, so once we get over 10,000, we will get up to 290. Alright, that's 10,000 feet. All of our landing lights are coming off. And we can go up to 290 knots. We'll do so slowly so the nose doesn't slam down on us. Looking good there. And then we're looking for Mach 0.74, that intercept. Oh, and you know what? Advise the flight attendants, oops, that we are above 10,000 feet. Kevin, are you in a timeout or no? Oh, you know what? I turned the no smoking sign on and off again. So I have to rebox the stat page. There we go. And now we're far enough from Winnipeg, we'll go over to the Unicom frequency of 122.8. And so far, still no ATC in Minneapolis, so for now, we'll have the CTAF on standby, which is 126.7. Okay, so 126.7 is on standby. Then just in case we get ATC, we'll keep that in mind. But if not, we will have CTAF loaded and ready to go. I told you, Kevin. Nightbot's gonna get you. I don't know how to pull you out of timeout either. Maybe Nightbot will be nicer to you if you give the stream a like. Oh wow, it deleted all of your messages after you got put in timeout. Oh brother. Alright, that's 18,000 feet, so we are going to standard altimeter. I forgot you're really supposed to... I'm curious now. Oh, you don't have to right click and then click the buttons anymore? Either that's an update or that's a 2024 thing, but previously, if you wanted to push any of these buttons that are inside of the knobs, for some reason you had to right click and then click it, but it seems that now they work as they should. So that's pretty cool. Alright. Oh, you know what? I forgot we decreased our cruise to flight level 270. Almost forgot to change that on the autopilot. Let's go ahead and zoom out now and see. Okay. Now I gotta figure out how to pull you out of timeout. Oh, yeah, you're back. Look at that. I didn't have to pull you at all. Yeah. Spamming is for sure going to get Nightbot to take you out, you know what I mean? Alright, so now we're in the climb. Our climb check is complete, so let's get our descent checklist on standby here, and that's a whiles away. Engine gauges are all looking good. Verify that all of our anti-icing is off, which it is. Cool. Up. You're... Homie, what are you doing? Oh, man. Oh, stop paying attention to the mod speed. Oh. Well, you got a warning the first time, and then the second time is when it put you in timeout. But thanks for testing Nightbot for me. I appreciate that, but you gotta watch out so it doesn't do that to you again. Now that we're out of Winnipeg's area, let's go ahead and come back. We'll use the FMS flight plan now, and we'll look at our arrival into MSP, and we're starting at Gull, and we want to be at Gull at or above flight level 240. Now, we probably could have went higher than flight level 270, but I was trying to get the FMS to stop saying invalid altitude, so... Actually, let's see We'll go to 310 because we have plenty of room, and that'll give us plenty of cruise time as well. I figured it didn't read it. Oh. So, what do you think of the stream so far? Pretty streamy. Well, thanks. I work hard at that. And then once we intercept Mach 0.74 up here, we'll switch it over to Mach speed mode. And then continue our climb to flight level 310. I had a feeling that 370 was a bit high, but yeah. Alright, Mach 0.74, let's go ahead and flip that over. And we got an increase in climb rate of a couple hundred feet per minute, which isn't too shabby. Nose is strangely doing a lot of bobbing up and down, though. I'm not really sure why that is, but it is what it is, I guess. To go. And out of curiosity, I wonder if the showcase view has any... No, that was extremely loud. Oh, there we go. There's... Okay. I dig that. Which one are we on? Are we on 8? Yeah, we're on 8. Okay. We'll go back up front for now, since we're coming up on cruise. Alright, and now we'll pull the throttles back to looking for about 1,800 pounds per hour on the fuel flow, and that should give us a consistent speed in cruise. We are a little bit lower than normal, so maybe it'll take a little bit more power, but probably not much because we're at 310, so all right. Seatbelt signs are off, ladies and gentlemen. We are in cruise, so we can sit back, relax, enjoy the view. And our top of descent is looking to be about 15 minutes from now. This is a short flight, so we're not expecting a long cruise. But for now, enjoy the view. And I'll still be here. Just keep chatting with me, and I will respond. Although I don't like this option to me. Keep this up here, I guess. We just took off out of Winnipeg, Canada, and we're going to Minneapolis, and then our second leg of the day is going to be Minneapolis, Minnesota to Omaha, Nebraska. These are real SkyWest flights that take place. This one, Winnipeg to Minneapolis, is actually typically done in the ERJ, but I don't have an ERJ, so we're doing the CRJ, but the next leg is actually done by a CRJ, and usually the 900, so we're going to be pretty on point with that. I'm just making sure that our speed is peeling off a little bit, so let's increase that just by a hair. Omaha, Nebraska, huh? Yeehaw indeed. It really just doesn't go back to the view mode. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out how to do really good camera views from here. Actually, one thing I did want to see is how nose up we are. Well, it's only like a couple of degrees, that's not bad. Alright. Oh, brother. I'm surprised that didn't qualify as spam. I appreciate all the reactions. That's very kind of you. I will be right back. Oh my goodness, you are going to... I don't know if Nightbot can ban or anything like that, but you're, keep testing Nightbot. I don't know what, she can do. Alright, seatbelt signs are coming back on. We are just about at our top of descent here. Sort of. Not quite there, but we're getting a little bit close. I'm probably going to start our descent about 40 miles, maybe 30 to 40 miles from Gull, and then we'll take a peek at the chart here. What does this say here? It says 6 minutes, 53 nautical miles away, but this is also assuming that we're at flight level 270, because that is the cruise altitude that I put in the FMC, but I changed it to 3.1 because we really didn't need to sit that low. So I'm just going to start it a little bit early. Maybe I don't need to start it until about 20 miles from Gull, but just in case. Seatbelt signs are on. And we'll keep an eye on it. Go to our charts here. Okay. It's not a steep descent by any means, so we shouldn't be like super worried about it, but we always want to be prepared. So the landing elevation is set. The fuel we'll check here. We're 54.15. That's just fine. TCAS is set. Radar is off. We're not experiencing any weather of any sort. CAS we'll check. Oh, you know what? I did turn the seatbelt signs back on. And we have those boxed. Good. And landing data is set. We have our approach loaded in, so that's good. In the approach briefing, we are doing the ILS for runway 30 left. Coming off of the arrival, we will vector ourselves to final, and we're expecting VFR conditions, so we should be able to just do a visual inbound. Hey Kevin, if you do exclamation point commands, plural, it'll give you a list of commands that you can use. At least it's supposed to. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do heading sync. There we go. Go ahead and try it, see if it works. So we're making a gradual descent, 1,500 feet per minute, and we want to have a speed of Mach 0.77 according to VNav until it says 247 knots, which is probably, we'll wait until about 10,000 feet to maintain that speed. If we start to need to descend faster based off of the waypoints and our distances and stuff, we'll slow down to 247, but for right now we'll descend at our current indicated speed. We do have a speed restriction actually at Bainey, which is 280 knots. Excuse me. And we want to be we want to be between 15,000 and flight level 190 by Bainey. So this is where we'll reach flight level 240, and then we'll keep 1,500 feet per minute and see where it puts us at 2,000, or I'm sorry, 20,000, flight level 200, and then if we have to increase the descent rate, we will. Once we roll out, we'll go ahead and do another heading sync. Right about there. You know what? I should have reduced the altitude sooner, so oops. Let's go ahead and go down 1,500 feet per minute. We'll go 1,700 feet per minute. And we'll actually... Okay, so 1,700 feet per minute is giving us a pretty good descent rate. We'll be within the altitude restriction at Bainey. So we'll drop this down to 15,000, 15,000. We want to be closer to the bottom, so let's go ahead and do 1,900 feet per minute. We'll walk out a little bit of throttle so we're not going too fast. And we want to be at 280 knots at Bainey, so we're going to go ahead and slow down to 280 now to help us out a little bit. A little bit of a change in the wind data, as you saw by the yawing there. Alright, that airspeed does appear to be coming down. That's good. And we'll zoom in on the MFD just a little bit. Clear up some space right there so we can read. And we also do have the charts here. And for runway 30 left, we're going to all the way to Jenny, which is right over here. And our bottom altitude is 8,000 at Mauer at 210 knots, so we'll keep an eye on that. Oop, starting to slow down just a little bit, so let's put in just a hair of throttle to keep us at 280. And since we will be descending below flight level 180, we're going to be setting the altimeter, which is 3011. So let's go ahead and do that. 3011, excellent. Alright, so we're passing over Bainey, and we are in our altitude constriction here, so we'll drop the altitude bug to 11,000 to see when we'll wind up there. Because we want to be at or above 11,000 by Lucy, and it looks like we'll be set up perfectly there. And then we will probably be able to decrease our descent rate, because the next constriction is 10,000, quite a distance away. So we'll slow that descent rate just a little bit after we cross Lucy. Just trying to adjust the throttle minusculely to keep that 280 knots as prescribed by the chart. The winds are back to 020, so they are certainly favoring the 3 zeros again, and the gust factor has calmed down a lot, so we shouldn't be dealing with as aggressive of a crosswind as previously expected. 020 pretty much is an 80-degree crosswind off of 3 zeros. And it was gusting 20, so that's pretty significant overall. Oh, and you know what? The flight attendants advised them of final descent. Should have done that at 18,000, but I got distracted. Box the stat page again. Boom. And excuse me a sec. Alright, we are at 10,000 feet, so the landing lights are all coming on, and we are looking to maintain 250 knots, which we're kind of slowing down a little bit, so let's increase some throttle. Okay, a little more throttle, I guess. So we want to be at 250 knots by Gopher. And then after Gopher, we want to cross Purple at or above 9,000. And then we want to be at 8,000 by Mauer and 210 knots. And there are no speed restrictions at all past Gopher until Mauer. So we'll maintain 250. And then by the time we get to Mauer, if I could speak, we'll go down to 210 knots. Now we're going just a hair too fast. So we'll do our before landing checklist now. So flight attendants are advised, passenger signs are on, thrust reversers we will arm, and then landing gear and slats and flaps will be as required while we're on approach. And we are getting into some clouds here. Oh, and you know what? We should be descending now. Get a nice gradual descent going. And a nice and easy one at that, because we have quite some distance to lose only 2,000 feet, so we really don't need to go down all that hard. We're about 15 miles away from the airport, so I'm flipping over to the Unicom frequency, going to verify that no one is on the line for ATC, which they are not, so this will be CTAF. Alright, Kevin, how do you think this landing's going to go? Okay, maintaining 250 knots. We are above 9,000 feet over purple, which is excellent. Looks like our localizer frequency is already loaded for us automatically, because that's what the CRJs do. Alright. I hope so. I'm not going to lie to you. I struggle more landing the CRJ than I do most aircraft, so you're expecting a lot from me. But I think I got it. Alright, we're coming up on 8,000, and we are less than 10 miles from Mauer, so I'm going to slow down to 210 knots to make sure that I'm 210 by that waypoint. Alright, cam is coming on, so you guys can see. You got this, thank you. I appreciate that. Definitely have to fly this plane more often to try and keep up with the butter abilities. And right now we are in and out of clouds. I think that that's one of the most fun parts of doing this kind of thing. We're coming up on 210 knots, so the throttle's coming back up just a little bit so we can maintain that speed. Alright, and real quick, now that we're at the end of our arrival, we're going to pull up the approach plate for 30 left. ILS localizer 30 left. We're going to take note of our minimums, which are 1023, so we'll keep that in mind. Don't want to speed up too much here. Cool. Alright, so 1023 looks good, and safe altitude is 3,000. Well, actually, we're going to be coming from the south, so 2,800. So we'll start with 3,500 and descend down to there because we would be getting a descent right now if this were ATC online. So we'll do 1,500 feet per minute down to 3.5. Our speed's picking up just a little bit, so let's get some speed brakes in there to help us slow down. And you know what? We want to be at 4,000 at ABES, so we're going to descend down to 4,000 and then intercept final approach course from there. And the speed brakes aren't really doing much for us right now. Let's decrease the descent rate just a little bit and see if that helps us peel off a little bit. And of course, if you want to track my flight on VATSIM, you can go to VATSIM Radar, vatsim-radar.com, and I am SkyWest 3660, and you can follow my flight path to see how I look over the ground. Okay, we're going to heading sync here and keep this heading for a second. We'll zoom in on the MFD. And we will turn ourselves perpendicular to the runway now. So it should be about 020. Nope, that's wrong. 030. Let's see if anyone is on the airport. There is one individual on the ground. He's at the American terminal, so that's good. He won't be in our way. And we won't run into him, which is also good. Oh, you know what? Spoilers can go back. And we'll actually maintain 200 knots here. I do have the airport in sight. So we'll use the autopilot to set ourselves up for a 30-degree intercept of the final approach course, and then we'll take it visual from there. So left turn heading 030. Flip this over to localizer mode as a backup for us. I do have the airport in sight over here, so we'll get the throttle in the position of 50. Throttle. I forget that this plane doesn't have auto throttle, so that's my bad. Don't want to speed up too much. So we'll go ahead and do flaps 1 to help us slow down a little bit. Then we'll disconnect the autopilot, which I'm surprised we didn't get an alert for. Nope. Then we'll maintain our altitude here. Oh, we definitely overshot final a little bit. Oh, brother, I was almost certain I wasn't going to do that. So let's slow down a little bit more. Flaps 8, and we're going to go to 180 knots, and we're going to drop our gear. This plane controls a little funky. I might have to reset the sensitivities for the CRJ. That would have been bad if I overshot that hard in real life. Flight attendants just said something about a nighttime landing, which is not really the case. Oh. Sensitivity in this aircraft is pretty low, so I need to correct a little more for getting back onto course here. Yeah, I mean, I'm usually not that bad, but I guess this time I kind of am, so. Real quick, I'm going to go to my performance and get my VREF speed, which is 144, so we'll just do a 150 knot final here. Don't want to get too low. We do have 3 greens on the landing gear, so that's good. We're a little bit low on glide slope, so we're just going to pitch up and increase throttle. Throttle for glide slope, pitch for speed. And then we'll correct a little more for being straight on with the runway, which right now we're looking pretty good. Oops, and I never made a radio call, that's my bad. Minneapolis traffic, Skywest 3660 is on a 5-mile final, runway 30 left, Minneapolis. I almost forgot I was on VATSIM for a second there. Oops. And we'll do flaps 30. And that will be our final flap setting for landing. I don't know, I really actually don't think we're all that low. This visually looks pretty good, but the pappies are telling us we're low. So maybe if we do three reds and 1 white, we'll be on a normal glide slope. Okay, we're at 150 knots. We'll maintain that from here. And we'll need a little more power as we're on the back side of the power curve to keep that speed. Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty normal approach right here. I don't know why the pappies are telling us we're so low. So I'm going to ignore the pappies and just do visual. Okay, so we're picking up a little bit. We're going to slow down. We want 150, now 160. Okay, now we're starting to descend at a pretty high rate, so we'll fix that real quick.
300.
A little bit to the left of center line, so we'll get back on track here. Okay, now we're looking more up to par.
Sync rate.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Oh, what the? Okay. 2 in reverse. Okay, 40 knots, reversers are coming out. We'll take this first exit available to us and we'll start the APU. Interesting. Okay, that wasn't the worst landing I ever did, but that was a little strange. The aircraft decided to tip a little bit on us when our first wheel touched down. Alright, so the flaps are coming up. Do our after landing check. APU is on, transponder and radar are fine. Flaps and slats are retracted. We'll go ahead and get the landing lights off. We'll just leave the nose light for taxi, and strobes are off. Wing inspection is off. Nope, not the cowl. Probe heats are coming off. And that's our after landing check. Alright. And we're taxiing at a snail's pace, so let's fix that. Bump up the speed just a little bit. Well, Kevin, honest opinion, what do you think there? Still only going 11 knots. We can do better than that. Minneapolis traffic, SkyWest 3660 is clear of 30 left, taking Delta, Papa, Quebec to gate Charlie 26, Minneapolis. I keep forgetting I'm on VATSIM, which is crazy. Yeah. I actually think he could do okay on this aircraft. It's not particularly hard, it's just weird. The biggest thing on landing is that throttle control. You have to cut off you have to power idle at a very specific time and have the proper flare in there. It didn't really seem like a hard landing, I don't think, but the way the wheel touched down and the plane tried to roll in a way was odd, but that's alright though, because we fixed it. Oh, you know what? I don't even know where Charlie 26 is because I don't have the MSP scenery for 2024. And we're taxiing kind of fast now, so just a little bit of brake. Charlie 26 is going to be at the end of the Charlie terminal over here. We're still going just a little bit, passing this building over here, and then we turn to the right. It's going to be this next right turn right here. And Charlie 26 is going to be this second right over here. So we're going to try and be nice and careful pulling into this one, and we'll turn off the nose light so we don't blind the ground crew. And I really hope that it's close enough to get that jet bridge to interact, but it looks like it might not be, because that's pretty far for the jet bridge to travel, but maybe we'll get lucky. I'm just going to stick to the line for realism's sake. Alright, parking brake is coming on. Both thrust levers are going to shut off. In SkyWest, chocks are in place, so now we can turn the beacon off and the seatbelt signs off, and we'll do our open the door. Hey, the jetway does interact, that's cool, nice. Alright, go to our checklists. The parking brake is on, the seatbelt signs are off, thrust levers are shut off, anti-ice. The probe heats are off, good. Fuel pumps are going off. The beacon is off and the nose wheel steering is off. Alright. And we are now officially in a turnaround state for the CRJ. Here we go. Oh, I was a little off. I could have done way better than that. Oh, jeez. Oh, well. We'll try and redeem ourselves in Omaha. Cannot for the life of me get a good camera angle here. Okay. Alright, well, there you have it. Winnipeg to Minneapolis. We have one more flight in this stream, and we are going from Minneapolis to Omaha. And what we'll do is we'll just take off straight out of this gate and make our way to Omaha, and then that'll be it for the night. Stay tuned, because the weather in Omaha may get interesting. There's quite the storm system moving in towards the area, so we'll see if we wind up running into any of that. But I'll be back. We're going to set up the second flight and go from there. Alright, we are back, and Kevin is spamming yet again. I gotta see if Nightbot can handle that kind of thing, because I don't want anyone else to do that. But we are filed for a flight plan to Omaha, and this should be really, really interesting, because just in the last hour alone, the weather has sparked up quite significantly along our route. Now the question is, what is the sim going to replicate? So we're going to be seeing how the weather goes and bob and weave if we have to. Oh, Kevin, you and your evil face. Oh man. Alright, well, cool. So now that we're in the turnaround state, we don't have to do the originating check because we are all good to go there. We'll go back to just verify that everything is exactly how we want it. Yaw damper's still on, you know, trim values. We'll go ahead and set the performance actually for this aircraft real quick. That was something I missed. So we once again have a full flight, and we have the same amount of cargo, which is really interesting. The only real difference is the block fuel, which we're looking at 9204, like so. Okay. And then, so we'll set that in the simulator, which is set. Cool. Go to checklist here, just verify everything is all set. Yeah, everything's fine right here. Cool. So now we'll go up top and we'll turn the fasten seatbelt sign back on. We're just going to run through a really quick flow. So the logo light's on, the nav light's on, that's all good, said and done. Bleed air is all exactly where we want it. APU is on, hydraulics can stay on. We don't really need to worry about that. The landing altitude at Omaha is 985, so we're going to set that to 980. We got to do this again so I can actually see what I'm doing here. Verify that that's 980. Yes, it is. Cool. Oop, a little bit of stuttering there. That's concerning. Okay. So we'll come up top here. Packs are on. Everything looks good here. Window heats stay on. Sweet. All right. Double check everything down here. Well, thrust reversers, we're leaving armed. That's good. Nope, wrong one. There we go. ATC, the squawk code. So it turns out that auto ATC seems to only be in the US, because we did get an auto ATC for this flight. So if you're not in the US and you're doing a VATSIM flight, it looks like you're not going to get an auto ATC. It seems to be just a test program of some sort for VATSIM in the United States. So we do have a squawk code of 5231. So I do want to try and see if that works. Doesn't. Okay. So the Logitech panel doesn't work with the CRJ transponder, which is interesting. And the squawk code doesn't display correctly unless you manually put it in the CRJ here and your radio panel, it seems, because the last time I did this flight, did a VATSIM flight with the CRJ, the controller was not getting my code, so that's something to be careful of in this airplane. So everything looks good there. We're in a turnaround state. Oops, I don't really care about the circuit breakers. Okay, so we're going to come down here, and we're going to turn this floodlight on just one setting so we can see the knobs, because at night this doesn't really come to light very much. We'll set our V speeds with our new performance calculation, which we have here, and we're looking at the same V speeds actually. Yeah, they're all the same. Nice. Huh, cool. Trim value is 6.8, so let's make sure we're there again. Okay, 6.8 trim value is good. All right. So now, checklist before start, we'll go passenger signs are on, landing elevation is set, the altimeter, that's a good one, is 3012, so we'll bump that up by 1. 3012, and it does sync throughout the whole airplane, good, so that setting did save, that's good. Here we go. FMS, we will set right now. Cool. So, go to our flight plan. We have a brand new flight plan here today. We are going from Kilo Mike Sierra Papa to Kilo Oscar Mike Alpha. Our alternate today, good question, is Kansas City. So Kilo Mike Charlie India. Now I don't think we'll need to go to our alternate, but the weather is looking a little bit frisky, so we'll want to pay attention and be ready to divert if necessary. Today we are SkyWest 3739, so we'll put that in our flight number here. And our flight plan for today, ATC is still not online, so I'm just going to go ahead and put the whole thing in. I lost my flight plan. Hang on a second. Sorry. Orski 3. So we'll go over here. We're doing the Orski 3. We're going to take off from runway 30 right, because that's the closest, and we are doing the... Oh, we're going to Orski. Okay, so we'll execute that. We're not going to pick the transition because our transition is actually before this waypoint. So we're going to go to Orski, and that should show on our flight plan here. So via Orski 3 to Orski. Yep, there we go. Excellent. There's a discontinuity just because we didn't pick the transition, but that's fine. We'll get rid of it in the legs page. So from Orski, we're going direct to Du Bois, Delta Alpha Bravo Oscar Yankee, and then that is actually the beginning to our arrival into Omaha. So Omaha arrival, we'll see what the winds are doing in Omaha right now. They're reading 170 at 11. So we're gonna want, which runway are we gonna want? We're gonna do 14 right. So back here, we're doing the Atlantic 2. We're going to do 14 right, ILS. Excuse me. And our transition is Du Bois. And we'll do vectors to final again. Execute that. Good. Go to our legs page. We'll get rid of the discontinuity. So direct journey from there. Well, we're doing vectors, and then we'll direct ourselves to journey. And then there's another discontinuity. So we'll take OTC here and place it up here. And no more discontinuity, so we'll execute that. Go back to our flight plan, performance init. We do know that we have a full flight of 90 passengers. We have 4,500 pounds of cargo again. And then we do have the fuel on board already put in for us, which is cool. Today's cruise altitude is going to be flight level 300, which makes much more sense for this flight. Because it's about the same duration from Winnipeg, but for some reason SimBrief had us at 370 for the first flight, so 300 was more like it. Go to the next page here, our cruise wind, top of climb winds, we're looking at 270 at 45. And our reserve fuel is 3908. So we're going to put that in there, and that's all good. We'll execute that, and that's good. VNAV setup, we're coming here. Our takeoff and climb is going to be standard, and then our flight plan wants us, top of climb, 291 knots at Mach 0.77, so we'll do that.
Minneapolis traffic,
Mach
2225, final
Oops.
30 left,
I
Minneapolis.
wanted the decimal, not 0. Cool, there we go. And then for top of descent, we're looking at 297 Mach 0.78. Okay. Oh, I did it backwards. I forget it shifts. because it's going from Mach 2 indicated airspeed. That actually makes a lot of sense. What did I say? 297. There we go. We'll execute that. That's good. We'll go to our performance page, do our takeoff calculation in SimBrief, which is pretty cool that they do that for us. Takeoff. We're doing 30 right today. Okay. Runway condition is dry. Excellent. So the select temp is going to be 31. Cool. Love to see it. Alright, that looks good to me. So we have our performance, we have our VNAV set up, and we are ready for pushback. And now we'll assume that all passengers are on board. So the devices are off, the APU is on, electronics are checked, takeoff data is set, doors closed and locked. We'll go ahead and get the beacon on and tell them that we want our jetway pulled. That's really strange. What happened to my packs? Oh, you know what? Alright, we're closing the door and the chocks are getting removed. Sweet. So the doors are on, the beacon's on, the fuel pumps are coming on. Hydraulics are already on. Good. And the parking brake can come off. Alright. Alright, now I'm not going to start the engines right away because since I don't have a pushback tool, I do want to push back an external view and then just turn out of here, because look at the minimal space we have, and as far as I know you can only do straight back. So we'll just push ourselves back just a little bit. Just enough to not hit this building. And then I gotta figure out what pushback tools exist for 2024. So that's good enough for me. Stop please. Stop please. Thank you very much. Alright, so we'll set the parking brake here, and we will begin our engine start process. So hold this for 3 seconds, the light comes on. Cool. We hear the pack turn off. N2 is rising. Right, and at 20% N2, we're introducing fuel. Oh, maybe. There we go. And we'll turn the cam on before I forget.
Traffic up to 2225, clear runway 30 left, Minneapolis.
That was really interesting. I shouldn't be in shutdown mode. Okay, I think because I pulled it back into shutdown by accident during the start, we have to try that again. So let's hold this for 3 seconds. Okay. We'll wait for that N2 to rise again, which it is. Alright, 20%. Come on. There we go. It should have not been the hassle that it was. Okay, yeah, so now it's starting. A little bit glitchy there, not thrilled about that one.
Ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention as we display the safety features and procedures of the aircraft in case of an emergency. During an emergency, please remain in your seat.
Alright, engine number 2 is a stable start. We have oil pressure, oil temps in the green. Everything looks good. It's time to start engine number 1. Hold it for 3 seconds, got the light. We hear the pack turn off. N2 is rising. 20% N2, we're going to bring those forward. Nope, I just did the same thing to this aircraft. Why are those throttles being fidgety all of a sudden? Okay, we'll try that again. The throttles are fine with the lever, but for some reason loading into a second flight without restarting the plane is making the cutoff to idle position a little fidgety. There we go. And we'll just keep it there. Now we'll sync it. Okay, now we have a good start. Alright. So, note to self and you guys, if you fly the CRJ and you do a turn and don't restart the plane or whatever, you're probably going to have some trouble with these thrust levers. That was being a lot weirder than it should have. But that's okay because we got it. Okay, we have 2 stable engine starts. Alright, love to see it. Now, you know what? I always forget that there's a camera command for the EFB. Alright, so that's good. After start, generators are all on auto. Electrics are all good. Bleed valves are all good. Packs are on. APU can come off. And we'll verify that that door is closed. Yes, it is. Anti-ice, we'll turn the probes back on. And the nose wheel steering can get armed. Excellent. Taxi, flaps are going to 8. And the slats are dropping. And flaps 8. Cool. Flight controls, we'll check again. Always want to make sure those are working. So we'll go to flight controls. Right aileron and spoiler up. Left aileron, spoiler up. Elevator forward. Elevator aft. Rudder. Full right. Full left. Alright. Flight controls are free and correct. And, oops, wrong camera buttons. So the thrust reversers we'll make sure are armed, which they are. Flight instruments are checked and brake temp is looking good to my knowledge. Oh yeah, look at this. This looks more realistic. We have some numbers here, but they're in the green, so those are good to go. Alright. Alright, Kevin, my friend, are you ready to go again? Alright, parking brake's coming off. And actually what I'm going to do real quick is pull up the charts. And we're Quebec Pop 1, okay. So we'll do our departure. We're looking at the Orski 3. And, oh yeah, we'll make those restrictions for sure. Alright, we're ready to taxi. Kevin, are you still with me? Minneapolis traffic, SkyWest 3739 is at gate Charlie 26, taking Quebec Papa 1 to runway 30 right, Minneapolis. Trying to make as hard of a turn as possible, not to hit the gates on our left side or the gates on our right side. This is a pretty tight terminal area over here. Alright, now we're looking good. Sweet. You ready for another run? We're off to Omaha. Alright. I'm going to try and make this landing a little bit better than the last one. Wasn't terrible, but I definitely had to have done something wrong for the plane to just suddenly kind of tilt over the way it did.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has advised that we are now cleared for takeoff.
Minneapolis traffic, request 2182 on the Kilo 3 arrival, approaching Crisp. I'm descending down to 7,000 by Geku, and then I'll be joining the ILS 3011 Minneapolis traffic.
Alright, real quick, we'll do our before takeoff checklist, which is lights and strobes. Landing lights are all coming on, strobes are on, fuel cross flow is auto, and we'll stop here before we continue. Fuel cross flow is auto. Flight attendants are advised. Flight attendants, please prepare for takeoff. Transponder and TCAS are set. Radar and terrain display are where we want it, and we are not doing anything crazy here. And CAS is checked. We are good for takeoff. Alright, and then I do want the wing inspection light on as well. Cool. Alright. Let's get ourselves to takeoff, shall we? Actually, I want to match the runway heading. That would be the smart option. Okay. Minneapolis traffic, SkyWest 3739 is taking runway 30 right, and we're departing southwestbound via Orsky 3, Minneapolis. Alright, we're taking the runway. Finals clear. Departure's clear. And we're clear to enter. Alright, the aircraft's going in toga mode. Oh, and we gotta rebox the stat page. Alright, lining up at the runway here. Engines are going to come to 60% N1. They want to roll up faster. And engines are stable, toga thrust. We do have quite the crosswind from the right side, so we'll do right aileron for now. Airspeed's alive. 80 knots cross check, and as we pick up forward speed, we'll take the aileron out. V1, rotate. And we have a positive rate, gears coming up. And we will heading sync. Heading mode is getting armed. And we're 2,300. Once we're at 3,000 feet, we'll go to climb thrust and then begin walking out our flaps as we speed up. And that's 3,000. So climb thrust will pitch down. Autopilot can come on. We'll go to speed mode. And we'll increase the speed to 250. And flaps are going to 1. And flaps completely retracted. And now we will go direct to journey. Minneapolis traffic, SkyWest 3739er, just departed the airport. We're making the left turn southwestbound on the Orsky 3, Minneapolis. Oh, you know what I forgot to do was turn this to FMS mode. So let's redirect to. And we should be good to go here. Oh, you know what I forgot to do as well? Oh boy. Yeah, we better get up there. Yep. My mistake. Forgot to set the altitude bug before we took off. Okay, let's try this again. This is why you always run through your checks. So, what is... Why is it doing that? I just wanted to go direct to journey. Do I have to throw it in heading mode and then... Direct to, because that's really weird. 10,000 feet, landing lights are coming off.
Minneapolis traffic, northwest, 2182, joint localizer.
Advise the flight attendants.
Minneapolis traffic.
Box the stat page again. Oh, and field cross flow can go off now. Legion APU are good. Thrust reversers are coming off. And the CAS is checked. Alright. Oh, nope, you know what? I don't want 14,000, I want 300. Alright, there we go. Now we're starting to look a little more normal. And no, we're not, because it is not wanting to maintain 290 knots. Alright. And now we should be on course. The only problem is now it doesn't want to maintain 290 knots. Oh wait, it might be doing it now. Okay. That was a very strange takeoff, all because I forgot to set my altitude bug before we took off, which is a major issue, but we're back on track. We're direct to journey, so we'll join the Orsky 3 departure. And we are now climbing at 290 knots. Engine gauges are all looking good. Our climb check is complete, and I things are a little more on the normal side. I'm so used to doing everything from cold and dark to takeoff, so when I do a turn like this, I sometimes forget major checklist items, which is why checklists are important. I should start printing those off. It's interesting, this nav source is in yellow over here.
Traffic, West 182, short final, 30 left, 4 miles south. Yeah.
Well, then we're above 18,000, so we're going to standard pressure. Alright, now the real question of the day is, what is this weather going to look like in the simulator on our way to Omaha? Because we have some serious stuff halfway through that we might have to dodge, but the simulator might not properly simulate it or register it, so we'll have to find out, but I'm very intrigued to see what this has in store. Because right now, there is severe weather all along our path, so let's get it. What I am going to do is engine in continuous, and I'm going to turn on the cowl engine anti-ice, because we are in negative 19 degrees Celsius standing air temperature, and I do see visible moisture ahead of us, so we're going to stay ahead of that as far as icing is concerned. Yeah, these storms along our route are in fact severe warned, so yeah, we're gonna have a good time. If, of course, it's simulated.
Yeah, traffic northwest 2182, runway 30 left, clear, taxi to the Gulf Gates, yeah, all fine.
For some reason our nav on the autopilot is not. Okay, now it's following it. Huh. I think I really jacked the autopilot up when I forgot to set my altitude bug. That's unfortunate. Next time, just fly it by hand and then make sure everything is set, and then go back to autopilot, because I tried fixing one thing, going back to autopilot, and it didn't want to do anything, and so maintaining the 290 knots for our climb speed, but it stopped following the GPS, which was really interesting. Yeah, this is going to look really weird on VATSIM maps, I bet. Yeah, it actually already does. Oh boy. Well, we should be getting back onto the departure by now, and everything should be a-okay. Oh, continuous ignition is on, yep. Alright, and nothing in the visible distance seems to be popping up as far as weather is concerned, but we're still got quite a bit of flight left, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, now it looks like we're back on track, which I like to see. Part of me wants to make sure I'm still on climb thrust. Yeah, I am, okay. Alright, we are back on track. Sweet. Wow. It was a little bit of a rough go, but we got out of it, so that's good. Once we intercept Mach 0.77, we will switch over to Mach speed mode. And that should keep our climb rate consistent. We do have a quartering headwind of 51 knots, so that's going to slow us down a little bit, unfortunately. 1,000 to go. It actually looks like we're intercepting Mach 0.77 right at our cruise speed, so, or cruise altitude, I should say. We are going to keep the seatbelt signs on for the duration of this flight because it is going to be quite wild, actually. Well, it would be in real life. I don't know what the sim's going to do, but just in case, we're going to keep people safe, seated, just in case it does get wild. Kevin, you ready for some wild weather if it comes about? Alright, so we're going to turn the engine cowling anti-ice off and ignition off of continuous, and then we will monitor the icing situation as we continue through whatever cloud layer we got going on here, excuse me. We are decreasing in speed actually, which is interesting for the fuel flow. Now, out of curiosity, let's see if we can get this radar to work. Oh yeah, look at that. The radar shows something. Let's go. Alright, cool. So our flight path is keeping us out of this red right here, so we're gonna remain on course after we cross Orski. Now ideally you want to be 20 nautical miles away from any thunderstorm, but I don't fully expect the sim to simulate it, so we're just gonna kind of wing it, pun intended. Alright, well, now that we're in cruise, we'll kick back, relax, and we'll watch the weather closely. Definitely not going to be in any wing views for this flight because of the weather. Gotta keep an eye on everything and see how it goes, but for now, we'll just sit back in the flight deck, have a good time, and Kevin, I hope you didn't go anywhere. It might get real. Hey Kevin, can you see the radar pretty well over here? Look at all this red going on. This is pretty close to real life radar. that I'm looking at over here. I just really don't know what the sim can do. But this is actually pretty realistic to real life radar, so kind of curious to see what we're going to wind up running into. Usually these radars only show what the sim is doing, but this one looks pretty realistic, so it's either the sim is actually simulating it or the CRJ was programmed to just emulate real life radar or something. We'll find out. Maybe it gets like next rad data or something like that. But yeah, I'm curious. I want to see some real stuff. We're already about 70 miles from top of descent, so we'll be not even in cruise for that much longer. Like I said, 2 relatively short legs. 30,000 definitely makes more sense for a cruise altitude on this leg. I don't know why. From Winnipeg to Minneapolis, SimBrief had us at 37,000. That was, I mean, I knew that was too high, and even the FMC was saying that was too high. So I don't know, but this is more normal and long enough to be a cruise. Yeah, I think that the aircraft is pulling radar data from real life, like Nextrad or something, because there shouldn't see a gap where sun's poking through there. It would just be nothing but cloud and a vertical stack, and obviously we're not seeing any lightning. So I think it's just pulling like actual Nextrad radar stuff, but the sim itself is not portraying the weather. But it is also hard to tell because we're kind of going through a pretty high overcast that's like right at our cruise altitude, but I was kind of hoping for some crazy weather. Alright, so we're going to get our arrival chart pulled up. Just Alright, so top of descent is coming up in about 10 miles. The arrival for Omaha is really strange. There's no altitude or speed restrictions. It's just basically a course to follow, and we're going Du Bois over to Atlantic. And then from Atlantic, it's going to be a 250 heading, and we're basically just going to vector ourselves for runway 14 right. So this is going to be more up to us manually. Yeah, I don't think the weather's being all that simulated, because we should be seeing some pretty tall towering going on off our right side, and lightning and severe weather, so the sim is not emulating that very well, unfortunately. But it was cool to get some radar. We're going to keep the radar on just in case something pops up, because that's, you know, always entirely possible. But we're going to go zoom into about 20 miles. And then for the ILS-14 right, we want to be, where are we at here? There we go. So our minimum, so our DA is 1185, and then we want to be at 2,400 by the time we get to Zatar. So we will vector ourselves over there, but Omaha is also VFR currently, so we should be able to just do a visual into Omaha. A nice little night landing for you guys. And, oh, you know what? Our top of descent came quick, so let's go ahead and start that. And our FMS wants us to go 2,300 feet per minute, so we're going to go throttle to idle and do 2,300 feet per minute just to make sure we don't go too fast when we're descending. The bottom altitude is 2,400, just wanted to verify. Oh, look at that, right on the money. Let's go. Okay. So 2,400 is setting the altitude bug, and we'll do it at 280 knots indicated. We're just going to forget about the Mach speed since we missed our top of descent from like a mile or two. 280 knots, because we didn't miss it by that much, so we should be able to just kind of roll it on in and be where we want to be when we want to be there. And I was actually able to bring another, a little bit of throttle back to maintain 280, so we don't even need to go idle. And we'll do a heading sync. We got quite a bit of wind pushing us from the right side, looking at a crosswind from the right, about 34 knots. Very interesting, the way that the autopilot tries to intercept a course. Usually half bank mode auto engages, but I guess that's not the case this time around. So once we roll out and we're on course, I'll heading sync once more. We'll set the speed bug just to help us out. And now would be a good time for a heading sync, so we'll do that. And we got to take a little bit of throttle back out because now it wants to go pretty fast. We can slow our descent rate. It says 1900, but we'll do 2,000 feet per minute just to stay ahead of the game. Especially since it's a very vague arrival. But it doesn't look like we're going to be totally visual inbound to Omaha, so that's good. Alright, Kevin, I want you to watch this landing closely. Alright, the altimeter is 299er, and since we're descending through flight level 180, I'm just going to set that now. 299er, winds are still 170 at 10, so they're still favoring 14 right, which is good. Temperatures are really hot, 31 degrees Celsius, which is, I believe, in the high 80s on Fahrenheit, maybe even 90. So performance is going to be down by quite a bit, so we might need a little more power from the engines to compensate for that. We have no ATC on the line, and no one is at the airport or within the vicinity, so we're good there. Gonna pull up CTAF real quick. Looks like CTAF is, if I could find the airport info, 132.1, and I'm going to verify. Oops, don't want to do that on our ATC. Yep, 132.1, that is correct. And you know what, we never switched to en route. Oh boy. And we do want to be on a 250 heading after we cross Atlantic, so we'll set that ahead of time and then watch for our crossover to over Atlantic and then turn to that heading. Alright, we're below 18,000, so we'll notify the flight attendants. And since we use the no smoking sign, we will have to rebox our stat page. And I'm not worried about engine anti-ice right now because the temperature is coming up to above freezing and we are nowhere near visible moisture. It is well below us, so I'm not concerned about that. And we'll throw the cam on before I forget because we're getting close. We are speeding up a little bit, so I gotta walk that throttle out. It's telling us to maintain 1400, so 1400 feet per minute. So we'll do 16 just to be safe. We're gonna zoom out just a little bit because I need to vector myself for this ILS. Although we're going to be visual, so I might even try and see what my pattern looks like in a CRJ in the sim. It's probably going to be rough, but... And we're starting to get closer to 10,000, so I'm going to slow down to about 250 knots. Slowly but surely. We got plenty of altitude to get there, and the airspeed is slowly decreasing, so I'm not going to introduce the speed brakes quite yet. Going to see what it does. And now since we are on heading mode, I'm going to switch the nav source over to localizer mode just to have it ready to go. We are going through some clouds over here. And we're getting closer, so now I'm going to reduce the range again on the MFD. Because now we can see the airport on the screen. We're in the clouds right now, kind of. Alright, Kevin, we're getting close. Alright, I am going to introduce the speed brakes because it's not slowing down quick enough. Coming up on 10,000, landing lights are on. We'll turn the wing inspection light on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this just a little bit more to the right on a 275 heading for now. That way we can line ourselves up with the localizer. But we're starting to get into VMC conditions, so I'm not uber worried about it. Speed brakes can come off because we are now below 250 knots, which is good. And I do actually have the airport in sight, which is nice. Alright, let's go ahead and slow down to about 210 knots. We're going to go just a little more to the right here, so 300 should work. That'll set us up on kind of a downwind. We're going to introduce the speed brakes and increase our descent rate just a little bit. And now we'll go to 320, because that is a total downwind for the runway. That is the reciprocal for 140. And we'll zoom in on the map to give ourselves our 10-mile view. Flip over to CTAF for Omaha. Omaha traffic, SkyWest 3739 is on an extended left downwind for runway 14 right, Omaha. And we're going to get a little bit lower before we turn ourselves towards that localizer, because we're still a little bit on the higher side. We are experiencing some wind gusts over here. It's getting a little bit bumpy, so that should make for a very interesting approach. Some in my eye, excuse me. Oh yeah. The winds are a little bit aggressive here at Omaha, it seems, at least at altitude. It's indicating a steady wind of 10 knots, no gust factor, but up at altitude it seems to be fighting us a little bit, so gotta be careful on this approach. Alright, let's go ahead and take out those speed brakes and we'll drop flaps 1. We'll go ahead and turn ourselves perpendicular now. 230 on the heading. Oof. Use the speed brakes to slow us down some more. We'll bring those back. We'll go to a 1500 foot per minute descent rate. And I have flown to this area in real life before, and this looks pretty good, actually. I don't think the water was as visible at night, though, in real life. Alright, speed brakes are coming out. I don't want to leave those in and forget about them. Oh yeah, we are getting pushed around right now. It is turbulent. Alright, let's go ahead and turn 170 for the 30-degree intercept. And we are visual, which is good. I'm going to go ahead and introduce flaps 5, or flaps 8, sorry. This is a CRJ, not a 737. Oh yeah, it is gusty. That airspeed is all over the place. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come in at about 160 knots. We seem to be plus or minus 15 on the airspeed, which is pretty crazy. So what we'll do is we'll use the ILS and the autopilot to kind of help us make a stable approach to the runway. Yeah, that airspeed is all over the place. We are in some seriously rocky conditions right now, so we are going to want some extra speed as we're coming in. And we're going to arm the approach mode. Actually, this thinks we're... There we go. I thought we were on the ILS for the opposite side. That was interesting. Omaha traffic, Skywest 3739 is on a 8-mile final, runway 14 right, Omaha. Okay, we're going to do flaps 20, and we're going to slow down. Oh, man. That right there would be wind shear, people. And I'm actually not even entirely convinced that the autopilot can handle this approach, so we're disconnecting autopilot and we're taking this by hand. We're getting ourselves restabilized here. A little bit of a crosswind coming from the right side, about 15 knots, so we'll make sure we compensate for that. Flaps 30. Omaha traffic, Skywest 3739er is on a 5-mile final, runway 14 right, Omaha. Got off course a little bit while I was checking something else. And again, we're maintaining about 160 knots because the airspeed is so all over the place. The last thing you want is to run into a wind gust that drops off your airspeed and you wind up stalling the aircraft because you lost that airspeed. Alright, now we're getting back on track. Gonna need a little more throttle. Oh, maybe a little less.
Get on the game.
Say again? What? Alright, now we're looking a little more stable. The wind is actually becoming more of a headwind the lower we get, which is kind of cool. And it seems to have stabilized. We're not seeing such fluctuations in airspeed. Nice and smooth. Hold it off. Hold it off. Oh, that was greasy. Alright. Oh. Very laggy. What is happening?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at our destination. On behalf of the captain and crew, we thank you for flying with us and hope you will join us again.
This is why you always verify you have 3 greens. The landing gear didn't drop.
Please remain seated until the aircraft has come to a complete stop.
Oh, brother. Yeah, that happened. Alright, we're disconnecting off the VATSIM. Well, let's do what we do best and do an emergency evacuation. Alright, both engines are coming to, if they would let me. Oh, you know what? I still have the reversers. Okay, we're shutting both engines off. The APU is coming on.
Ladies and gentlemen, the door is open. Please make your way to the exit and please make sure you have all your personal items and carry-on luggage.
I'm waiting for you to approve the screen share.
Oh, goodness. Well, there you have it. I thought I dropped the gear, and I did not. The one time I do not verify that we have 3 greens, and the gear was not down. Yeah, a whoopsie indeed. Wow. Oh, let's get all those lights turned off. Actually, those are good. Actually, can we arm emergency mode? Can we do like some kind of emergency thing here?
It's fine. I like that one.
I'm not seeing it, but oh, here we go. I think, is that it? Oh, would you look at that? I think that was it. Let me see. Let me turn the wing inspection lights off. Oh no, that's not it, but these would act as it anyway. But, huh. Emergency evacuation on the runway, folks. Oh man, this is you know, when you're simming and doing all sorts of different things, your attention span is definitely decreased because you know, you can't really like kill yourself in a simulator, so your attention span and attentiveness, I should say, goes down quite a bit. Never had this happen to me before, especially even on stream. I've had some stupid stuff happen to me on stream, but I think this is the worst one yet. So, yeah, there you go. Well, we evacuated on the runway. What an ending. Alright. Well, this is definitely going to be the end of the stream. Whoopsie. Yeah. I was about to do a whole debrief on that. You know, the flight was kind of just destroyed from the beginning because, you know, I made a slight mistake in the autopilot with the altitude bug, and, well, it caused for some other autopilot issues throughout the flight, but then we got back on track and we recovered it, and we were doing so well, and then the gear didn't drop when I thought it did. And this is why you always verify that you have 3 greens before you land. And that's something that's like drilled into your head. And I have my complex aircraft endorsement, so this is something that, like, you know, typically I'm very, very aware of. But if there, you know, is something to show that even the most, like, experienced pilots or the most attentive pilots and stuff like that, this is a prime example of how the moment you stop paying attention to something, it can end disastrous. And checklists are really important too, and I think maybe this is the sign to find the checklists from the aircraft manuals on these aircraft downloads and actually use them. Well, this one has a checklist, and I completely ignored the descent and before landing checklist. Had I paid attention to the checklist, that probably wouldn't have been an issue. But I looked away for 1 second. Yeah, lesson learned. So, you know, it's a good thing to make mistakes on the sim, because then you think like, oh crap. You definitely don't want to do that in real life. Oh, resource usage exceeds GPU memory. Wow. That's interesting. I haven't gotten that message the entire stream, and all of a sudden at the end I am. Wow. Sorry I'm so quiet and don't know what to say, but that's just a terrible thing to happen on stream. So we're gonna end it here for the night, obviously. Other than this, well, the flight from Winnipeg to Minneapolis was really good. The landing was a little bit strange because we touched down and the wing wanted to tip over for some reason. That was kind of a whole weird thing, but it wasn't a bad landing. It was just weird, and I thought I would make up for it here, and I almost did. Yeah. I can certainly switch it to daytime to see it better. Oh, you know what? I can't because I'm on... Oh, wait. Yeah, I can. Whoa, what in the blinding light was that? Oof, okay. I should take a screenshot of this, too. What is this? What's floating in the air right here? Oh, those are the chocks. I had to set the chocks to open the door, and the chocks are just floating in the air because the gear's up. Yeah, big time flashbang. Oh, brother. Well. Alright, well, that's the end of the stream. Like I said, the flight from Winnipeg to Minneapolis was fine, but this second leg was disastrous from the start. And I probably should have taken that as a sign to pay more attention, but as Kevin said in the chat, lesson learned, and we'll do better next time, and pay more attention to those checklists. I don't know how I got that. It looks like you glitched through the ground. Yeah, a little bit. And if you can see, there's still like rocks flying everywhere. Oh, yeah. So, but ultimately, we flew out of Canada, so that was good, and it went really well. There was no ATC online, so it wasn't really much different from what we're normally used to doing. Sorry, Kevin's posted some funny stuff in the chat. Normally, we're just in the U.S., and Canada is a little bit different on like procedures and regulations and stuff like that, but IFR is pretty much the same. But it was nice to venture out. I'm going to do some more Canadian flights here pretty soon, and start venturing myself outside of the US and Canada so I can start flying in Europe and stuff like that. VATSIM is definitely a lot different in Europe than it is in Canada, so I want to get more familiar with procedures overseas and stuff like that before I do that, but that's definitely down the line. But one thing that I will say is I am super impressed with Flight Sim 2024 and how good it's been this entire stream. I had no problems. That GPU message only popped up once at the very end of the flight, which was really, really strange, and I think it might have something to do with this gear up landing. So 2024 is performing really well on stream. So if I fly the CRJ from now on, I think I'm probably just going to do it in 2024. and I'm just going to keep the other aircraft in 2020 for now because, well, I don't have any good third-party aircraft in 2024 yet besides the CRJ. But I like what's going on, and I hear some good things about some future updates on 2024, so that will be going on for now. Other than that, oh, there it is again. I'm not really sure. It might just be because of the gear up landing. It did pretty good so far, so whatever. But some really good things are coming up in future streams. I'm developing some more pretty cool ideas. I'm thinking of doing some GA Madness streams where people can join in and fly along with us, you know, from airport to airport. And yeah, so thank you to Kevin for tuning in and joining up in the chat, and thank you to anyone else who joins up either now or in the future or whatever. Yeah, I'm leaving it here. Have a good night, everyone, and until next time, we'll see you.